The rain was pouring down hard. The highway stretched empty and dark ahead. A poor man was driving his small delivery truck, making his late-night run to survive another day. His headlights suddenly caught something on the roadside. Someone was collapsed there, blood everywhere, mud covering her face, dark bruises all over her body. He slammed the brakes hard, jumped out, rushed over through the rain. He covered her shaking body with his jacket. "Ma'am, can you hear me? Stay with me," she whispered weakly. "Don't let them find me, please." He lifted her gently into his truck and drove fast through the storm, not knowing this night would change everything forever. His name was Jack Rowan, 38 years old, a single father, barely surviving each month. He drove a beat-up delivery truck for a small shipping company. The pay was terrible, the hours were brutal, but it kept food on the table for his daughter. Lila was 8 years old, smart, kind, full of questions about the world. They lived together in a tiny old house on the edge of town. The roof leaked when it rained. The heating barely worked in winter, but it was home. Jack's wife had left them 3 years ago. She couldn't handle the poverty anymore, couldn't handle watching Jack struggle and fail over and over again. He never blamed her. Some people weren't built for this kind of life, but Lila was everything to him now. Every morning before school he made her breakfast. Every night he read her stories until she fell asleep, and he taught her one lesson above all others: we help people, Lila, even when nobody's watching. Even when we have nothing to give, that's what makes us human. She always nodded seriously when he said this, like she understood something deep and true about the world. Tonight Jack had been delivering packages across 3 counties, 12 hours of driving. His back ached, his eyes burned from staring at dark roads. He was thinking about Lila, about the science project she needed help with tomorrow, about the worn-out shoes she needed before winter came. That's when he saw the woman on the road. At first he thought it was a pile of trash, or maybe an animal hit by a car, but then his headlights swept over her face, over the terror frozen in her eyes. He didn't hesitate, didn't think about the risk, didn't wonder if this was some kind of trap or scam. He just saw another human being in pain, and he remembered his own words to Lila: we help. The woman was barely conscious when he reached her. Her expensive clothes were torn and covered in mud. One of her shoes was missing. Her face was swollen from bruises, but what struck him most were her eyes. When she looked at him through the rain, there was pure fear there, not fear of him, fear of something else, something hunting her. "Don't let them find me," she whispered again. Her voice was raw, desperate. "Who?" Jack asked. "Who's looking for you?" But she had already passed out in his arms. He carried her to his truck, wrapped her in an old blanket he kept behind the seat, the same blanket Lila had once used for camping trips when times were better. Around the woman's neck he noticed something, a thin scarf, hand-knitted. The pattern was unusual, expensive looking. He was about to drive to the hospital when she suddenly grabbed his arm. Her eyes flew open with panic. "No hospitals, no police, please. They'll find me there. They'll finish what they started." Jack looked at this stranger, this wounded woman who was trusting him with her life. He should take her to the hospital anyway. That was the smart thing, the safe thing. But he remembered being desperate once, being hunted by debt collectors, by a system that didn't care if he lived or died. He remembered what it felt like when no one would help. "Okay," he said quietly, "no hospitals. You can stay with me tonight. We'll figure this out." He drove through the rain toward home, toward Lila, toward a choice that would change everything. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens when compassion meets destiny. The woman woke up 12 hours later on Jack's old couch. For a moment she didn't remember where she was. Then the pain hit every muscle in her body, screamed. Her head throbbed like someone was driving nails into her skull. She sat up slowly, looked around the small living room, peeling wallpaper, a cracked TV on a wobbly stand, children's drawings taped to the refrigerator in the next room. This wasn't a trap, this was someone's actual home, someone poor, someone who had almost nothing, someone who had saved her life anyway. The smell of soup drifted from the kitchen. She heard humming, a man's voice, off key but gentle. Jack appeared in the doorway holding a bowl. He saw her awake and smiled. Not the fake smile of someone who wants something, a real smile, tired but genuine. "You're awake, good, you need to eat something." He set the bowl on the coffee table, sat down in a worn armchair across from her. She stared at the soup, then at him. Her voice came out broken. "Why did you help me?" Jack shrugged. "You needed help, simple as that. You don't even know who I am, doesn't matter. You needed help." She felt tears burning in her eyes. When was the last time someone had helped her without wanting something in return, without calculating the benefit, without seeing her as a transaction? She couldn't remember. Jack had also cleaned and bandaged her wounds while she slept. Her torn clothes had been replaced with an oversized shirt and sweatpants, clean, warm, safe. "Where's my phone, Sean?" she asked, suddenly panic rising again. "Didn't find one. Maybe you lost it on the road." She closed her eyes. Good, that meant they couldn't track her through it, but it also meant she had no way to contact anyone she trusted. No way to access her accounts, her resources, her proof. I need you to promise me something, she said, her voice shaking. Don't call the police, don't tell anyone I'm here, please. Jack studied her face, the desperation, the fear. Lady, I don't know what you're running from, but those bruises didn't come from a car accident. Someone did that to you on purpose. She nodded, unable to speak. Whoever did this, Jack continued quietly, they're dangerous, and if they're looking for you, having you here puts my daughter at risk. Shame flooded through her. He was right, she was being selfish, putting this kind man and his child in danger just to save herself. I'll leave, she whispered. I'm sorry, you're right, I shouldn't have. I didn't say you had to leave, Jack interrupted. I just need to know what we're dealing with, the truth, all of it. She looked at him, at this stranger who had given her shelter when she had nothing, who was asking for honesty instead of kicking her out. She owed him that much, but before she could speak, a sound made them both freeze. The television in the corner. Lila must have turned it on from her room upstairs. A news report was playing. Breaking news tonight. Authorities are searching for Elena Hayes, daughter of billionaire Marcus Hayes. The 30-year-old heiress has been missing for 3 days. Police say there are concerns for her safety. Elena's photo filled the screen. Professional, polished from a charity gala 6 months ago. A different person from the broken woman sitting on this couch. Jack's head snapped toward her, then back to the television, then to her again. His face went pale. That's you. It wasn't a question, it was a realization, a terrible understanding of exactly how deep this went. Elena couldn't meet his eyes. Yes, you're a billionaire's daughter. Yes, and you're hiding in my house. Yes. Jack stood up, walked to the window, looked out at his quiet street, his safe, unremarkable street that was about to become very dangerous. I should have taken you to the hospital, he muttered. They would have killed me there. Elena's voice was flat. Factual. My fiancé has people everywhere, cops, doctors, security guards. The moment I showed up in any official system, I'd be dead within an hour. Jack turned around. Your fiancé did this to you? He tried to kill me. She pulled down the collar of the borrowed shirt, showed him the dark bruise around her throat, the clear shape of fingers. I was going to expose him. His company is laundering money for criminal organizations, billions of dollars. I found proof, was going to turn it over to the FBI, and he found out. His people grabbed me outside my apartment, drove me out to the woods, beat me, tried to make it look like a robbery gone wrong. Her voice was eerily calm now, like she was describing something that happened to someone else. I got lucky, fought back, ran, ended up on that highway where you found me. Jack sank back into his chair. This was insane. This was bigger than anything he had ever been involved with. Elena Hayes, he said slowly. I know that name. She looked at him sharply. How? Your father's company, Hayes Industrial Group. You know my father? Jack's laugh was bitter, painful. He fired me 5 years ago. I was a senior engineer in the technical department. I found safety violations in one of the factories, reported it to management. Your father had me blacklisted from the entire industry. I lost everything, my career, my house. My wife left because I couldn't find decent work anymore. The room went silent. Elena felt like she couldn't breathe. This man, this kind, broken man who had saved her life, her father had destroyed him. I didn't know, she whispered. Why would you? Jack's voice was hollow. You were probably at some charity gala while I was losing everything. They sat in painful silence for a long moment. Elena wanted to apologize, to explain, to somehow make it right, but what could she possibly say? Sorry, my father ruined your life. Sorry, I lived in luxury while you struggled to feed your daughter. Before she could find words, headlights swept across the window. Jack stood up, instantly moved to the edge of the curtain, peered out carefully. A black SUV was parked across the street, engine running, windows tinted dark. That car wasn't there 10 minutes ago, Jack said quietly. Elena's blood turned to ice. We need to hide now, Daddy. A small voice came from the stairs. Lila stood there in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. She looked at Elena with curiosity but no fear. Sweetheart, I need you to go downstairs to the basement right now. Don't ask questions. Something in Jack's voice made Lila obey immediately. She'd heard that tone before. When debt collectors came knocking, when things were dangerous. Take her, Elena said. Hide with her. I'll deal with this like hell. You will. Jack was already moving. Basement, both of you. There's a crawl space behind the water heater. Get in there and don't make a sound no matter what you hear. Elena grabbed Lila's hand. They ran down the narrow basement stairs. Jack followed, moved boxes aside, showed them the small opening. Get in, stay quiet. If something happens to me, there's a tunnel that leads to the neighbor's yard. Mrs. Chen, tell her Jack sent you. She'll help. Jack wait, but he was already gone back up the stairs. Elena pulled Lila into the cramped space, held the little girl close, felt her trembling. It's okay, Elena whispered. Your dad is brave, he'll be okay. Upstairs there was a knock at the door, not aggressive, not loud, just 3 calm knocks. Somehow that was more terrifying than if they'd kicked the door down. Jack opened it slowly. 2 men stood there, expensive suits, empty smiles, the kind of men who broke bones for a living, but dressed like businessmen. Evening, sir. Sorry to bother you so late. We're looking for someone. A woman about 5'7", dark hair. She might be injured. Have you seen anyone like that? Jack kept his face neutral. No, haven't seen anyone. Why? What happened? Missing person case. Families very worried about her. She's not well, needs medication. If you see her, there's a substantial reward for information leading to her safe return. One of the men was looking past Jack, scanning the living room, the kitchen, looking for any sign. How substantial? Jack asked, playing the part of a poor man who might be tempted by money. $50,000. Jack whistled low. That's a lot of money. I'll definitely keep my eyes open. Appreciate it. The man handed him a card. Call that number if you see anything day or night. They turned to leave. Jack started to close the door, then one of them stopped, turned back around. Nice truck you got there. Delivery driver. Yeah, why? What route do you drive? Jack's heart was pounding but his voice stayed steady. Mostly local, sometimes I go out to the highway for bigger jobs. Highway 47 where it runs past the state forest sometimes. The man smiled but his eyes were dead, calculating. Funny thing, we found some tire tracks out there right near where we think our missing person. It might have been tracks from a small truck like yours. Jack shrugged. Lots of trucks use that highway, true, but not many stop in the middle of nowhere on a rainy night. The silence stretched out, dangerous, heavy. Then the man laughed. Anyway, keep your eyes open. That reward money could change your life. They walked back to their SUV, drove away slowly. Jack stood at the door for a full minute after they left, making sure they were really gone. Then he ran to the basement. They're gone for now. Elena and Lila crawled out. The little girl was crying quietly. Elena was holding her, whispering comfort. They know. Jack said, they know I picked you up. They're going to come back, maybe with more men, maybe with worse intentions. I'm sorry. Elena's voice broke. I'm so sorry I brought this to your home. To your daughter. I should leave right now before what they kill you. No. Jack was pacing now, thinking we need a plan, a real plan. There is no plan. Elena was shouting now, all the fear and guilt pouring out. These people are professionals. They have money, resources, connections. What do we have? An old truck and a basement hiding spot. We have the truth. Jack stopped pacing, looked at her directly. You said you had proof about the money laundering. Where is it? My apartment, on a secure drive hidden in my closet. But I can't go back there. They'll be watching it. What if someone else went? Who would possibly have my cell? Jack's jaw was set, determined. Tell me exactly where it is. I'll get it. That's insane. You don't owe me anything, especially after what my family did to you. Jack was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer. You're right, I don't owe you anything, but I owe it to myself, to Lila, to everyone. Your fiancé has heard, to everyone your father's company has heard. He looked at his daughter, at her scared, trusting face. I spent 5 years being angry, being broken, telling myself there was nothing I could do against people with money and power, but maybe that was just fear. Maybe this is my chance to actually fight back. Elena stared at him, this man who had every reason to hate her, to throw her out, to take the $50,000 reward and solve all his problems. Instead, he was choosing to help her. There's something you should know, Elena said quietly. About 5 years ago, when my father fired you, I tried to stop him. I fought with him for weeks, and when he wouldn't listen, I found out where you were. I sent money anonymously. It wasn't much, just enough to help with rent for a few months. I couldn't fix what he did, but I couldn't just do nothing. Jack stared at her. That was you. I've thought about you often over the years, wondered if you were okay, felt guilty that I couldn't do more. She laughed bitterly. I guess the universe has a sense of irony, putting me on that road where you'd find me. Or maybe, Jack said slowly, it was an irony. Maybe it was a second chance for both of us. Lila tugged on Elena's shirt. Are you going to stay with us? Elena looked at this brave little girl, then at her father. If you'll have me just until we can fix this. Jack nodded. Then we better get started. The next 48 hours moved like a whirlwind. Jack retrieved the evidence from Elena's apartment. It was risky, dangerous, but he'd spent years being invisible, being overlooked. For once that worked in his favor. Nobody noticed the delivery driver in worn work clothes entering the building through the service entrance. The secure drive contained everything: financial records, wire transfers, communications between Elena's fiancé and known criminal organizations, years of money laundering documented in meticulous detail. But they needed more than evidence. They needed protection. They needed someone they could trust. Elena remembered a name: Sarah Chen, an investigative journalist who'd been trying to expose corporate corruption for years. Someone who couldn't be bought, couldn't be intimidated. They contacted her through an encrypted message, explained the situation, sent copies of the evidence. Sarah arrived at Jack's house within 6 hours. This is bigger than I imagined, she said, scrolling through the files on her laptop. This isn't just money laundering. This connects to politicians, police chiefs, judges. This is systemic corruption at the highest levels. Can you publish it? Elena asked. I can do better than that. I have contacts at the FBI. Real ones, people who actually care about justice, but we need to move fast. Once this goes public, there's going to be a firestorm. The story broke 3 days later, front page of every major newspaper, lead story on every news channel. Elena Hayes, the billionaire heiress who risked everything to expose the truth, and Jack Rowan, the single father who protected her when no one else would. The public reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Elena's fiancé was arrested within hours, charged with attempted murder. Money laundering racketeering conspiracy. His company collapsed overnight, stock prices plummeted, executives resigned, federal agents raided offices across 3 states. But the biggest shock came when Marcus Hayes himself held a press conference. Elena watched from Jack's living room. Her father looked older than she remembered, tired, broken. "I want to publicly apologize to Jack Rowan," he said, his voice shaking. "5 years ago he tried to do the right thing. He reported safety violations in my company. And I destroyed his career for it. I was wrong. I was protecting my reputation instead of protecting lives, and for that I am deeply sorry." He looked directly into the camera like he was speaking to Jack personally. "You saved my daughter's life when you had every reason to let her die. You showed more character in one night than I've shown in my entire career. Thank you." Elena was crying. Jack sat beside her and put a hand on her shoulder. "He means it," she whispered. "I can tell he actually means it." 2 weeks later, Elena established the Rowan Foundation, named after the man who taught her that courage doesn't require wealth or power, just the willingness to do what's right. The foundation supported whistleblowers, protected people who exposed corruption, helped those who'd been fired for standing up for the truth. Jack was offered a position as senior ethics advisor, good salary, health insurance, respect. Everything he'd lost 5 years ago finally restored. 1 year later, Elena stood outside Jack's house again. But this time everything was different. The roof had been repaired, fresh paint covered the walls, new windows gleamed in the sunlight. The yard was neat and clean. She knocked on the door, heard footsteps running. The door flew open. Elena Lila threw herself forward, wrapped her arms around Elena's waist. "Hey sweetheart, look at you. You've grown so much. I'm in 4th grade now and I got straight A's on my report card. Wanna see? I'd love to." Jack appeared behind his daughter, smiling. He looked different too. Less tired, less worn down by the world. "Welcome back. We've been expecting you." Elena stepped inside the house, felt warm now, lived in happy. "I brought something," she said, handed Jack an envelope. He opened it carefully. Inside was a contract. Chief Engineer, Hayes Industrial Group, under new management, under new ethics policies that Elena had personally written. "Your father wanted to offer this himself," Elena explained, "but he thought it might mean more coming from me. He's changed, really changed. The company has changed. And we want you to be part of rebuilding it the right way this time." Jack stared at the paper, at the salary number, at the benefits package, at the words Senior Vice President of Ethical Operations. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes. Say you believe in second CH.